We live in one of the best locations to engage in outdoor activities. Hiking, mountain biking trails are plentiful. Fishing locations are everywhere. Lakes for boating and fishing are in every other city. But what happens when during one of these fun outings, someone gets seriously hurt? Can you help with that broken arm, or will you just be in the way? Do you know how to stop the bleeding in your friend's gashed arm, or will they bleed to death on the side of the trail? Knowing basic first aid and CPR techniques can help save a friend, family, and even yourself from a number of different injuries. I used to be a Boy Scout, and every year we would go over refresher courses on how to administer first aid and CPR. I have never used CPR on a living person before, but I've practiced on dummies, and I've used first aid techniques on myself, my family, and many of my friends. I think everyone should be able to administer CPR and basic first aid to any injured party. The problem is not enough people know how to treat even simple things like burns, cuts, or blisters. These are simple and easily fixable, but people just don't know how. The British Red Cross did a survey and found that more than 532,000 young teenagers have been left to take care of an injured person who was sick, unconscious in the last year. 1 out of 4 young people have had to cope with someone with a head injury. 1 out of 4, or 1 out of 3, has to cope with someone with asthma. 1 out of 5 teenagers have had to help someone who's choking. After those being surveyed were asked about these injuries, they're then asked how they responded to them. About 44% said they panicked, and 46% said they didn't even know what to do. That's about half of the population that just have no idea how to help an injured party. The American Red Cross also has done a survey and has found that 383,000 out-of-hospital cardiac arrests occur annually. If a bystander is able to administer CPR to this person, their chances of surviving triple. However, only 32% of cardiac arrest victims ever receive this bystander attention, which is why only 8% of out-of-hospital cardiac arrest victims survive. Statistically, it is also proven that if you are ever called upon to administer CPR, it will be on a loved one. It is not extremely difficult to learn basic first aid and to become CPR certified. With the internet everywhere, we have access to hundreds and hundreds of online courses, videos, and instructions on how to administer every kind of first aid that's manageable. YouTube is especially helpful, I have found, because you can visually see how things are done. Most of basic first aid involves assessing the situation, keeping the victim calm, calling for help, and making sure the injured can breathe. It's not that hard to learn any of these steps, but people just don't take the time. It's also not hard to learn CPR. I recently took a CPR class, and in less than a day, I was CPR certified. Such a small act can potentially save a life down the road. Another problem is that people's lack of knowledge can make them freeze up and panic when they are needed. Knowing what to do before something happens can get rid of that fear and panic. You can't just learn CPR when someone needs it, and you can't learn how to wrap a sprained ankle when it's getting dark and you need to get back to your car after a hike. Another thing that is easily accessible is that some jobs provide this first aid training. Colleges have classes that students can learn these skills and receive credit for. As I said before, online courses are available for those who need to go at their own pace. And even some public organizations like local churches and community centers have free classes. There are many ways to acquire the fundamental knowledge of first aid and CPR if you just look for it. We all think that bad accidents happen to strangers, but the problem is we're all strangers to someone. That's why you need to always be prepared to administer first aid treatment. Learning CPR and first aid techniques help you be prepared for any accident that may occur. because they never happen at convenient times, say when you're driving by a hospital or when you're near an urgent care center. The most crucial time in any accident is the first 5 minutes after the accident has occurred. The speed at which care is provided is essential. There's no time to read the first aid pamphlet in your first aid kit or look up the injury online and watch a video on how to fix it. Having the correct knowledge memorized and then the knowledge easily available can save critical time that the patient needs to survive. This time period, that first 5 minutes, is also most chaotic, confusing, and frightening. A person or even multiple people who are injured are going through shock and are unable to function properly. If you're already trained to deal with these people, you would know how to administer people who are going through shock and deal with the situation. You'll also be able to provide the necessary help to ensure the patient's comfort and sometimes even survival is met. Sometimes an injury is bad enough that all you can do is keep the victim safe from outside interference until professional help can arrive. So learning the steps beforehand also gives you the confidence to act. The reason injured people don't receive treatment fast enough from bystanders is because they're afraid they might make the situation worse. They're afraid they'll cause more damage or hurt to the injured. Some are even afraid that they will injure themselves. While bystanders are battling these mental thoughts, the injured person is just getting worse. Having prior training eliminates these fears so adequate care can be provided. Learning how to provide CPR, first aid also teaches you healthy living practices. You learn how to keep yourself safe and not to take unneeded risks. By keeping yourself safe, you are putting yourselves in a better situation to provide the assistance the injured need. So I think it is essential for everyone to be able to administer CPR and to provide basic first aid techniques to any injured person they happen to come by. So I hope that next time you see an injured person, you aren't the bystander, but the first responder.